So do you want the answers small,
No,
medium,
big,
or long?
Big.
Big, okay.
Huge.
I can do big, yeah, for sure.
We can cut, but we can write
Yes, okay.
without
Все
you.
готовы? Все
Okay.
готовы? После хлопка начинаем. І
Сінтія, розкажіть, будь ласка, про вашу трансформацію в сфері бойових мистецтв. Ви пройшли дуже довгий шлях. Скажіть, будь ласка, що все починалося, з якої мотивації ви приходили, і як ваш шлях, ваше ставлення до бойових мистецтв мінялося з часом?
Well, when I first started martial arts, the reason I started is because my friend's parents were taking it and I saw the karate uniform and I liked it. And I said, I want that. I want to wear a karate belt. I really didn't know what it was, but I knew it was physical, using your hands and feet to fight. So I started, I didn't like it at first. I was the only girl in the class and I couldn't shout. I was intimidated by all the guys shouting. And my first class, someone kicked me in the head and almost knocked me out sparring. I had no idea how to block. I just stood there and they hit me. My second class, someone said, try to break a...
Нет, не надо, не надо. Yes, continue.
Oh,
Я понимаю, честно.
But for your people. Она потом же будет переводить. Subtitles.
Да, да, да.
should we start over?
No.
Let's continue.
Yes.
All right, where was I? Okay, where was
Second
I?
class.
Yeah. The second day on my class, they told me to break a board and it was already broken and I didn't even know how to kick and so I tried it and I broke my toe. So here I have a sore toe, got hit in the head and I said, I don't like this, I don't want to go. And my mom said, you have to go because I paid for 4 months and I'm not going to waste any money, so you have to go. So reluctantly I went. And then I've been training for about maybe a month and a half and we were starting to get ready for the first belt test and our instructor had us all sit down and he said to me, well, not to me, but he said to the whole class, he said, you know, if you're not any good, it's because you're not practicing. And losers are not winners or quitters. And I thought he was talking directly to me because here I am sitting here, yeah, I want to quit, you know, I don't like this. And it sunk in my brain, you know, even though I was young, I was only 13, you know, that well, yeah, maybe I'm not good because I don't practice and my attitude is really bad that I don't like it. So I started practicing and training a little bit harder and I started getting good. I started getting those moves that I thought I couldn't get down. So now I'm going, okay, I kind of like this. So the second phase of my life is I was an orange belt and that's the first belt that you had in Tung Sudo. And I entered a competition. And at this time, it was women, all ranks. It was from white belt to black belt. So I was training at this time 5.5 months, competing against people that were training 20 years. And it was in kata. And I took second place. Black belt took first, black belt took third, and here I am, little orange belt. So at that point, I thought, you know what? I could be the best in this sport. If I have only been studying 5.5 months and took second place, I am going to be the best in this sport. So I went home with a vengeance training. I went from 2 days a week to 5 days a week. And I started competing in a lot of competitions. So now I'm thinking, I am going to be a professional competitor. I'm going to be the best at competitions. So I started competing a lot. I entered my first professional competition in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and I competed against all the people that were number one. And I beat them. And everybody's going, who is this girl? Who is she? We don't know who she is. And she just beat the girl that was number one, you know. So now I decide I'm going to move to California because I want to compete in all the big competitions with there. And I wanted to study with Roger Tung, who did wushu. So I moved to California and I opened up a school with a partner. And then I was teaching a lot. So now I went from competing professionally to also being a full-time teacher. So that transformed there. Then from there, they were holding auditions in Los Angeles, and they were looking for a man, a new Bruce Lee. And I was on the West Coast demonstration team, and that was a team that would travel around the world competing just for demonstrations. So they said, should you bring the girls? And they're like, yeah, you can, but we're looking for a guy. So I went and I auditioned. I did form, fighting, self-defense, weapons. And they said, we're going to go with a girl instead of a guy. So that's how I got involved in movies. So I went to now, after competing, my goal was 5 years undefeated. And then I wanted to retire because I wanted to retire on top. And this was really hard. It was very stressful for me because in these 5 years, I've won like over 100 competitions and never lost. And mentally, I was like, what if I do lose? You know, I can't. So I went to Hong Kong to study. I went to China to study. I was in Taiwan to study. You know, that was my life, is that. So now I'm doing movies, and I'm also finishing my 5th year competition where my goal is. I became number 1, and I did my first movie. So now I transformed into an action star. And I thought I was just going to do one film. That's it. I was just going to do one film, and it was going to be, wow, I did a movie, you know. And I'm thinking at this time, what if I'm on a poster and I get to show my kids, look at Mommy was in a movie. I mean, it was crazy. That was in my mind. So then I did movies, and then after the movies, I had my daughter. And everything changed, the transition. Now, I wasn't really wanting to do the films because I wanted to be mom. I wanted to stay home with her, and I wanted to teach her how to do martial arts, you know. So I went into that transformation. And then I guess as of today now, you know, martial arts is still my life. I'll always train. I'll always seek to learn more in martial arts. I'll still teach. I'll always be teaching, and I'm still doing movies. So I went to all these different transformations, and now at this point, it incorporates all of them.
Дякую. Тоді скажіть, будь ласка, більшість приходять в бойові мистецтва в дитячому віці, чи це якийсь підлітковий період, коли там бурлить кров, грають гормони. Але є категорія людей, які приходять і хочуть займатися вже більш зрілому віці. Дехто з них боїться, дехто з них соромиться. От що б ви порадили таким людям? Як їм взагалі вступити на цей шлях бойових мистецтв, як до цього ставитися?
Usually people start practicing martial art at young age, and this is understandable. A lot of energy, hormones, and then time expires. What would you advise to the martial artist practitioner already at the age of a little bit past?
My philosophy is that everybody should study martial arts, whether you're 5 or you're 95. I am a person that believes age should not get in the way of anything that you do. And even if, like I've taught people that were in their 80s, you know, and yes, they can't do all the high kicks and stuff like that, but it's very easy to learn self-defense. I taught people that were in wheelchairs that couldn't walk, you know, how to defend themselves from the wheelchair. So I don't, one of the things I really don't like is when people say, oh, I can't do that, I'm too old, you know, and they're 40. You know, and I'm like, of course you can, you know, I mean, you just have to adapt, you know, and if you have a good martial art instructor, he'll see what you could do and he will take you, you know, as far as you could go. But it's great for kids to start because they learn coordination, they learn self-defense, they learn confidence in themselves. Their school gets better because they learn how to focus. They learned respect in martial arts schools. So I definitely think it's a great age. I think like 5 is a good age to start because up until that, it's just kind of like a fun class, which is good. But, you know, most kids don't have that attention span, you know, to go in. And it just goes on and on. It doesn't matter what age you are. You know, you see in the news, like there's a woman that's 101 and she's skydiving. You know, which is going to be me when I get that age. But, you know, everybody should learn martial arts and age should not be a barrier.
Дякую. Як ви ставитесь до сучасного кіно? Як воно змінилося з того часу, як ви активно знімалися? І чи є у вас улюблений режисер, актор чи фільм саме в жанрі бойового кіно?
What are you feeling about modern cinema? What has changed regarding the shooting of combat scenes in modern day compared to old school? And who are your favorite modern filmmaker, actors, and which action film you like?
Okay, that's a lot of questions, so I'll take one at a time in case I forget the other ones. I think when I first started doing movies, which was back in the late 80s, I didn't really know too much about martial art movies in America. I haven't really seen too many. All you saw was maybe the old bar brawl, you know, where a guy throws a punch and that's it. Never really saw fighting. I started training with my one teacher in New York, Shum Leong, and he would take me to Chinatown to go see a movie. And this was my first introduction to martial arts and films. And I was just in awe of it. I couldn't understand what they were saying, but I would just watch the action. And I would watch Jackie Chan when he was doing his own movies. And I would take those moves and go home and I would practice them. So I grew up watching this. And then who knew, many years later that I would be in Hong Kong doing those same kind of movies. To me, you had to be a phenomenal martial artist to do Hong Kong movies. You could not know anything and get by. It was, if you were not a good fighter, you could not do it. And that's kind of how I grew up on it, and seeing it. And then I lived in Hong Kong for 3 years, seeing all the Hong Kong movies, like all the time. They made them so much. Then when I came back to America, I did that for 3 years. And then I said, I want to come back home. I kind of missed home. So then I got jobs to do movies, martial art movies in the States. So I started, working there. Now it was a little different than the Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, my first movie was 7.5 months to shoot. Here I am, I come to America, and the whole movie is like 4 weeks. That's a big difference. And the fight scenes were maybe only half a morning, where like my first movie, we did the whole ending fight scene. It took a month to do. So it was really fast. It wasn't the same kind of action. So that was really different for me to do that. And that's kind of how film was at the time. Then there was an influx of Chinese movies coming in, and I think it started with Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. America people started seeing, wow, I like this. I like the wire work. I like this and that. And then we started getting so many movies having the same thing. And I think today is more than any day. You see so much martial arts in movies. Almost every movie is having action in it. And for me, as a martial artist, it's funny because usually an action picture is something I would last go see. I'd rather go see a drama or a comedy because I get critical when I'm watching it, going, oh, that foot wasn't in the right position, that hand wasn't right, oh, that was a stupid move, that wouldn't work. So I'm too critical, and I don't like to watch it, right? But there are some that are really, really good in the cinema, and I'd say probably one of my favorites, I'll give you two of my favorites, was The Kingsman. Now, here's an example. You have Colin Firth fighting. He can't fight. He's not a fighter. It shows you the difference in filming then and now because his double probably looked identical to him. So he could be doing a move and you think it's him. So they made him look like a good fighter. So it's the magic of cinematography now. You could just kind of have your face and maybe it's someone else's body, But I did like the action in that. And I also liked in Robert Downey Jr., he did Sherlock Holmes. And I'm watching that, right? And I'm watching it not going for an action movie, but I'm going because, I like that story. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, wow, I am impressed with Robert Downey Jr. He is so good. Wow, I even think he's a greater actor.
Wing Chun, yeah?
Yeah, he did the Wing Chun. And then later I found out that he really is a Wing Chun practitioner, because I was going, wow, he was really believable. And to me, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Say, for example, a film that I liked was Wonder Woman. I didn't want to go see it. I was like, oh, it's going to be stupid fighting. I'm not going to like it. And you know what? It was $150 million budget. Okay, they probably had her training for a long time every day. And, with doubles and camera angles and work, it really looked like she could do what she could do. So that is like magic, right? It doesn't always happen because if you don't have $150 million, you're not going to get your actor that is a non-martial artist to look like that. So I like that. And I'd say my favorite action director is Corey Yuen. He's who I worked in Hong Kong with. And he also has done The Transporter. He started off doing like choreography for some big films. And I love to work with him. He's my favorite. As far as American directors, I like Tim Burton. And I also like Kenneth Branagh. I've always liked him. And actors, well, let's see. I guess for action, I've always been a Jackie Chan fan, because he was like my hero, growing up. And what I like about Jackie Chan is that he'll take anything like a magazine and fight with it, or a telephone wire. And I like that because it works. It's silly, but it works. The action works. And, for martial artists that aren't martial artists, who I think I really like is Jason Statham and Liam Neeson. I mean, and these guys aren't martial artists. Now, Jason Statham was a diver, and he started studying. He was very physical. So if you get someone that's extremely physical in a sport, they could look pretty good doing martial arts. And Liam Neeson, I don't know what he did, but you know what? He doesn't do it would look silly if he's jumping off the walls and doing kicks and spins and stuff like that. But they don't do it. They make him do really strong action that works. So I like them. I like, when I see their movies, I know that I'm going to like the action.
А що б ви хотіли? Ага.
Таня, секунду, внимание. Если ты хочешь, чтобы лицо твое было в кадре,
надо посмотреть?
Нет, у тебя волосы закрывают, либо немножко,
вот эту?
Немножко, когда задаешь вопрос, чтобы лицо чуть-чуть было сюда
вот так,
повернуто.
Типа,
да, вот так.
Может, я дальше так сяду?
Нет, дальше не надо садиться, потому что у меня уже там...
Просто у тебя волосы полностью закрывают.
Половину лица и очень не очень.
Да, хорошо.
А так
I didn't see it,
хорошо.
I didn't see it, so I can't talk about
Вот так, да?
Да.
Да.
Все, можем продолжать?
Отлично.
I've never seen it.
Нахлопнешь.
We saw Wonder Woman.
No, Wonder Woman. We saw that.
Марі. Що б ви хотіли повернути в сучасне кіно, залишити і повернути з олдскульної школи бойового кіно?
What could you bring from old school, you've been doing martial art, to modern school of filmmaking for action movie?
I think when I film, I do old school filming because that's how I came up on it. Old school filming is hitting hard, When I came from Hong Kong to America, the stunt people in America were going, you don't have to hit so hard. But when I was in Hong Kong, I would hit hard and the director would be going harder, harder, harder. So I think I bring a very realistic feeling to it. I don't do things that are silly or wouldn't work. Or if a choreographer shows me something that I don't think will work, I will make it work strong. And I think that's a big difference between a lot of actors that really don't know martial artists. They could, speed up the film, and like someone could just punch like that, and then boom, it's really fast when they speed it up, so it looks good. But you know what? They don't have the body into it, the feeling, the face into it, mostly, and I think... who really had that well was Bruce Lee. He had such a screen charisma, that, you knew when he hit, it's going to work. So I think that kind of old school fighting is what I'll always do in modern day films. And sometimes you don't see that whole combination of fight spirit essence, in some of the modern day action films.
Ну так, дійсно, сучасне кіно, бойове кіно – це більше спецефекти, це більше каскадерська робота, це бойова хореографія. І люди, часто дивлячись це бойове кіно, надихаючись бойовим кіно, йдуть в секції з єдиноборства, але реальну картинку бачать інакше. Тобто зараз дуже такий великий розрив між реальними бойовими мистецтвами і тим, що ми бачимо в кіно. Як ви ставитесь до так званого мистецтва обману? Чи справедливо, чи це чесно по відношенню до глядачів?
And it's the question about choreography for martial art and real martial artists in the movie. How do you feel about that fake impression for public? And what you would be changing if you would be a director for this?
As far as choreography and film goes, a lot of people want to be in martial art films, but they don't understand what it entails. It's not getting up there and fighting. You're getting up there and you know what's coming around. So, say we're fighting and I'm going to punch you in the face. A lot of times people know it's coming, so they'll turn and then the punch comes, right? So one of the hard parts about choreography is waiting until you see that punch come and then you move, right? And make it look realistic, right? Because it's like a combination. I always call it like it's like a deadly dance, a deadly ballet. You know the movements, a dance pattern, but you have to make them work and look really effective. Choreography, it's totally depends on who the choreographer is. There has been really amazing ones, and there are some that's not so good. I myself had films where I like a choreographer who knows my moves to come in and show me what to do. But there were times in my film where they didn't, and they would give me moves that I didn't really like. So I would have to put on the hat of being the choreographer and change my moves and say, hey, do this, and that, you know. I think in the cinema, a lot of the directors know who the good choreographies are, so they'll bring them in to make sure that, you know, that the choreography is good, especially in your big films. And to me, it's like kind of fake fighting. Sometimes you hit and sometimes you don't. But the hard part is that you got to make it look like you really hit when you didn't. And sometimes you might have to touch the person, you know, and kind of control it where it looks hard. And that's the hard thing. But I think, you know, in general, what you choreograph, right, in a fight scene, especially for me, I could make it work out on the street too.
And how do you feel about fake impression for public from the fake martial artists?
Well, you know, for the public's view, to me, movies is entertainment. It's not a class for you to learn martial arts. So if you're looking at something, like say we're watching the Charlie's Angels TV series and the girls are fighting, and I'm like going, oh no, that's not good fighting, you know. And then the other person sitting next to me might not know martial arts and go, wow, that's great, you know. So it's a total individual thing. To me, if I was a director and I had action, you know, I would make sure that my stars really did it right. But sometimes the director doesn't look at it. Like someone could be punching like this, and they could make it strong, right? And the public's going, oh, that's okay. And I'm going, oh, that's a terrible fist. You'd break your fist, you know? So I would just make sure that the fighting is so realistic and it looks good. And sometimes we see it, and sometimes we don't. And, you know, if the public likes it, good. You know, sometimes martial artists might not like it. But, you know, when it boils down to it, it's really about entertainment.
А чи є у вас якийсь фільм-взірець про бойові мистецтва, де передано не тільки жанр, да, бойовий, а й сам дух бойового мистецтва? Взагалі, чи є такий фільм? І якщо немає, чи хотіли б ви зняти такий фільм? І про що б він був? Як би ви хотіли продемонструвати бойові мистецтва в кіно власному?
Do you have an action movie which your favorite, where martial art represents the best? And if not, if you would be doing a movie, what kind of action movie it would be? What would you like to represent as a martial artist in that movie?
There's a lot of martial art movies that I do like. Enter the Dragon is always a classic. Anything like Bruce Lee did. I like the movies Jet Li has done. Actually, like I said, you know, Jackie Chan. I kind of lean toward more of the Chinese style fighting. So that's, you know, that's what I like. That's what I would see. So if I was directing a movie, I would probably try to get Yun Kui's team or Jackie Chan's team. And I'm sure there's some really good teams out there that are really good. I just don't know who they are because that's who I'm familiar with. But I would just make sure that, you know, they knew really different choreography. See, the thing that I don't like is the same thing all the time. I get bored with that. I see the same moves, the same kick, you know, change it up, make it different, make it impressive, make the audience go, wow, that was great. So I would be looking for those kind of movements there, you know, and I would really like try to hire as many martial artists that can act that in my film.
Ви багатогранна особистість. Крім того, що ви майстер бойових мистецтв, у вас дуже багато чорних поясів в різних стилях. Ви акторка, ви режисер, продюсер, сценарист. А також ви тренер, зараз подорожуєте всім світом з семінарами, знайомитесь з багатьма людьми. А що із цих аспектів вам найближче зараз до душі? Що ви робите зараз з найбільшим задоволенням?
You're wearing so many hats: actor, trainer. You travel around the world, meeting different kind of people. Which one of your role you enjoy the most in this professional life of yours?
Yes, it's true. I wear many hats. I do a lot of things.
Bowling.
Yes, anything. First of all, you know, I'm a martial artist, martial art teacher. Then I'm also an actor. I am an extreme adventurer. I am a mom. I have 6 animals. And I manage all that myself. Of all that, I have to say, to me, I feel totally blessed to be able to do all that, and I'm glad I have a lot of energy to do all that. But my favorite role of anything, if I could say, if you only could do one thing, it would be to be a mom. Because to me, my daughter is the most gift that God could give me, and that definitely is number one in my life.
Сейчас такое лиричное отступление. Я тоже мама, поэтому понимаю. I also mom. Yes, I understand you. Окей, сейчас. Что-то мы слезы распускаем, да, в последнее время? We're crying. Yesterday we cried.
Yeah, I know, I know.
Сейчас.
Vulnerable. Martial artists are vulnerable still.
Ага, хорошо, продолжай.
The biggest.
Розкажіть мені, будь ласка, про вашу школу бойових мистецтв. Я знаю, що ви її заснували. З якою метою ви вирішили на той момент її створити? І яка зараз ситуація з вашою школою?
She's asking about your school of martial art. When you've been a founder of this, what was your dream and goal back there? And how is things now with your martial art school?
When I was living in Scranton, Pennsylvania, I used to teach for my teacher a lot. And then I decided to open up my own school because it was like, well, you know, I had jobs as I was an aerobic instructor. I was a manager of a fitness club. You know, it always dealt with fitness or movement, you know. And when I opened up the martial arts school, to me, this was a dream because I get to teach people. I get paid to do it. And I could train 8 to 10 hours a day, you know, because I was competing back then when I opened up my school. So I would train, you know, 3 hours in the morning. I would train 3 hours in the afternoon. I would train with my students, you know. So to me, it was like, I can't get a better job than this. And then I opened up a second school in Wilkes-Barre. And then I left those to my partner and I moved to California. When I moved to California, I opened up a school with a partner there. Then it seemed like with my movies, I was like traveling way too much, you know, to keep the school. So I ended up letting them take the school, and I was basically then just going to teach seminars. And when I was living in California, when I moved, I was in Northern California, then went to Southern California, I became a partner in a studio, and I wanted to go there and teach. And they really didn't want me to teach because the guy that owned the school was like, he wasn't really that great. And I shouldn't say that, but the school's not there anymore. But I would teach there, and I wasn't getting paid because I was just like an investor in it, but I wanted to teach. I still wanted to teach. And he was like, no, because the students will want you to teach, they won't want him. And I was correcting them way too much than he did. So they said, so then I felt bad. I was like, oh, I can't teach, you know. I tried to teach my daughter. That was impossible because you cannot teach your kids because you correct them. They go, I know that, I'm doing that. You know, you're like, you know. So then I started doing seminars, you know, and I didn't really do them a lot. And it's all because of Facebook, you know. So I did a seminar, like, say I went to Germany and did a seminar. And then I started posting pictures, and people are like, oh my God, Cynthia does seminars. And people would even think, sometimes they see me in the movies and they're like, you really can teach? And I'm like, yes, that's what I do, you know. And then I just started getting a lot of seminars. So that's a big part of my life today, is teaching seminars around the world. And I really, really enjoy it because, you know, one of the gifts that I feel I have that I could give back to people is help them in their martial arts. Maybe it will help them in self-defense, protecting their lives, you know, give them opportunities to incorporate what I can give them and can make them a better martial artist. So that to me is, you know, when people say, you have a legacy, what would you like to leave to people? And I'd say that I have helped them in their life, either whether it's martial arts wise or friend wise or uplifting wise, or, you know, just kind of a role model to just find your passion, and whatever it is, just work really hard for it. You know, I think sometimes when people are unhappy with what they do is because they're not doing I totally believe in God. So I think what God gives us these gifts, and we have to find out what they are, and that's our passion, and then just, full force, just don't give up, don't accept failure, be positive, and put like 110% effort into achieving the best you could be.
Поділіться, будь ласка, власним досвідом. Чи можливо на темі і в сфері бойових мистецтв, бойовому ком'юніті зробити успішний бізнес-проект?
She's asking to share your experience if you do believe martial art business could be profitable, your American experience.
Yeah, you know what? There's so many schools, especially in America. I mean, you could go 1 mile. There's one here. There's one there. There's so many. And I think what happens is that everybody that is a black belt, or maybe some people aren't really legitimate black belts, they want to open up a school because they think, you know what, I like teaching it, and it's a good way to make money.
Enough?
It's a good way to make money. It depends. You can't just be a good martial art teacher. You have to have, if you want to make money, if it's not like, this is your full-time career, you have to know your business, and get a good business plan, and have someone help you with that. And most of the schools that are profitable in the United States, like some of them are even making like, $200,000 a year, like teaching martial arts. And then you have someone that's making, $1,000 a month, something like that. The difference is promotion, obviously good teachers. You have to have a good teacher because, the people that come into a martial arts school, they don't know. They could just see, and whatever they see looks good because they don't know. But once you get in there, if you have a good teacher, he's going to motivate you. He's going to pay attention to you. He's going to correct you. He's going to help you not give up because it's so hard. So you have to be a really, really good teacher, have a really good business plan. And you know what? You have to be there every day. That's why I don't have a school right now, is because to make a school successful, you have to be there every single day. You have to do promotions. You have to get the word out to people. And you really have to believe that what you're teaching is to convince someone to do it, because this is going to help you. This is going to make you a better person. This someday can protect your life. And I mean, who would not do that? I don't know why everybody isn't doing martial arts, because why wouldn't you want to know how to protect yourself? If situation arises. So, you can, and that's, basically the formula for success is a good teacher, good business plan.
Світ знає дуже багатьох чоловіків-майстрів, чоловіків-зірок в сфері бойових мистецтв, дуже багато. Але Синтія Ротрик у нас одна жінка. Скажіть, яким шляхом, якою ціною ви досягли того, що світ знає всього одну єдину жінку-воїн? Яка особливість цього шляху для жінки? Що ви проходили? Що ви долали? Що ви доводили?
Film business knows many names of men in martial art, but it's only one, Cynthia Rothrock. The question is, what price did you pay for this fame and glory? How much you have to sacrifice if you did, and how much did you pay effort to become who you are?
І як воно бути жінкою-воїном? І як воно бути жінкою-воїном?
And what is that for you, being a woman warrior?
У мужському мірі.
In a man world.
Yeah. Okay. What was the first part?
Just like how is being a warrior impact your personal and professional life, and how much what is your price for that fame and glory?
Oh, okay. Oh, and why? Yeah. Okay. I've been doing movies since the mid 80s, and now here it's 2020, and a lot of people say, well, how come they still like you? How come they still know you? How come you're still doing movies?
Yeah.
Because sometimes people will do 1 or 2, and then that'll be it, and that's it. And I don't know, I feel blessed. I think because my fighting is good, so it comes across on screen, and I have, like a lot of people, one of the best things for me is that people will see my movies, and even here in the Ukraine, people said, I saw your movies, so I started martial arts, and I love that. I couldn't ask for anything more, is that by me doing films brings people in to see martial arts. And I think why I was so successful is because I totally don't look like what I could do, to beat up these guys, but it's believable. And women see it and they go, wow, well, if she could do it, I could do it, and I think why I still have a lot of fans today, because when I had my daughter, I pretty much only did 2 movies in 10 years. So a lot of people kind of forgot about me, because that was my choice. I didn't want to go to China and do a movie. I didn't want to go, I had to be with my little girl. So I think that I give so much to people because I love people. I'm not the kind of person that kind of goes, oh, I'm great, I don't have to talk to you. I'll talk to anybody.
I'm queen.
Yes, the queen. and you know what? I really enjoy people, and I am really thankful for my fans, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I am. It doesn't matter who hired me or the money I made. It's just the people, have to keep coming back. And especially on Facebook, I think I have the most followers and most martial art people. And it's because I spend a lot of time talking to people or showing things, or people will say, hey, I want to see your adventures. Oh, I love the Ukraine. That's on my bucket list. Like, I have all these people. That's my bucket list. I want to see that. And I want to help people to live life, through me, and I think that's kind of why, I have been sustainable, over all these years, and I feel as a person I'm getting better, and even as we age, I still feel strong. I still feel I can do what I do. I challenge myself, to me, it's like, I don't even talk about age. I was like, don't even ask me how old I am, because in my mind, I'm like still like this young kid doing all this stuff, and I think I'm a positive person. So, I think I try to, I feel good with people. I connect with people. And I think that's like one of the reasons that, my movies have been popular and still. And I love going places like this, because in the Ukraine, when we taught the seminars, you had 100 kids. Oh, maybe most of those didn't even know who I was. But, now they trained with me, they learned from me, and they're like, oh, yeah, so it's good. Some more people get to know, like, who I am. And as far as being a warrior woman, oh, boy, I think that started early because, like I said, I had to compete in a man's world. I mean, I would have women say to me, oh, you could wear lipstick while you're doing martial arts? And I'm going, yeah, why not? Why not? And people had this fallacy that you had to be a man. It was a man's sport, and it wasn't feminine, and I'm like, of course it is. To me, it's like, gets you in good shape, how confident you are to defend yourself. Why wouldn't you want, a woman like that, and I think, people realize now as time goes on, yes, that's a good thing. But at that time, it wasn't. So competing against the men, I had to find that I had to be so much better than the men. If I was just good, I wouldn't win. I had to be way, so I trained like a maniac. And I kind of feel like, I'm like one of the guys now, because it's always, if you look, a lot of times, a lot of men, and here's Cynthia, a lot of men, and here's Cynthia, and it's just that, you get that warrior spirit, like, yes, I can do this. I could hang with you, I had this one guy, believe it or not, it's the strangest thing, I was the first woman on the cover of Karate Illustrated magazine. And I was a kid. I was a teenager then, and this is a couple years, and we're sitting after a competition, and he said, so, how'd you get on the cover of the magazine? Did you sleep with the editor? And I looked at him and I went, oh, no, is that how you got on the cover? And his mouth just dropped, So it's kind of like dealing with that. You have to be tough. It makes you tough, and when I teach the war, I call it my seminars like having warrior spirit. And what to me warrior spirit is, it's internal. It's basically doing your best. So as far as martial art go, warrior spirit is like, when we train, you're only training about an hour, so you put everything into it. If you're doing a move, don't just like walk through it. Do it for real, we get lazy and we don't want to move, but you only have this time. And if you keep that spirit, like, like you're doing your kata, your form, like imagine that someone is there, you're fighting, get the face, feeling in it. And that's hard, believe it or not, it's really hard for martial artists to incorporate all that in. And I think because when I was competing, I was able to put all these components together. What do I need to be the best in the world? Okay, I have to be fast. I have to be strong. I have to have spirit. I have to have facial expression. I have to look like every move is a fight. And that to me is warrior spirit. Now it transfers into anything you do, having warrior spirit. And what that is don't give up. Don't let failures get in your way. You know, my good friend says, I eat obstacles every day for breakfast. And I love that. I love that saying, you know what I mean? And it's just like, you just keep pushing. You just keep pushing and you just do your best. And hey, you feel, I tried to do my best, but it wasn't, big deal. Doesn't matter. You tried and then you move on, you know? So that to me is being the warrior spirit, to being the warrior woman, you know, to being strong, to being confident, to being loving, to be caring, and to share, you know, with the world what you know.
Які ще вершини?
Надо столкнуться.
Откашляться.
Откашляйся.
Ага.
Внимание, нас очень слышно. Либо...
Ну, микрофон же там не будет слышно, это же там будет.
Я понимаю.
Last question.
Так, можемо дальше.
Які ще вершини прагне підкорити Сінтія Ротрок?
What is in front of you, your goals and your challenges?
Oh, well, challenges is Mount Kilimanjaro. That's the challenge for me. I think now my challenges are like doing like extreme adventure. And I think I'm an adrenaline junkie, so I like it, and I get nervous and I get afraid, but I'm like, I can do this, I am strong, and I that's how I challenge myself. How that came about, I don't know, but so that's my next challenge is Mount Kilimanjaro. I climbed up to Everest Base Camp, and that kicked my butt. It was so hard. Hardest thing I ever done. But once I got done, like during it, I was like, what am I, crazy? Why did I do this? Why did I do this? You know, and I'm dragging up for like a week and a half, and altitude I have a headache, you know. And then when I got done, I was like, that wasn't bad. Where's my next one? You know, so it's like a matter. That challenge, goals, to continue to do movies. I still want to do a lot of movies. Most of the time I've always been hired to do movies. Now I want to work on my own documentary, and I'm in the process of doing that. I got you know, some of the pieces together. Now I have to get the money for it. So once I get that, I'm going to do it, and it's not going to be a typical documentary. I don't want a documentary where everybody's like, yeah, I love Cynthia, she's great. I want them to tell inspirational stories, funny stories. I want it to be motivational. I want it to be entertaining, and you know, kind of give people, like a lot of people, like I said before, have that feeling, oh, I could never do that. Like the feeling is like, no, I can do whatever I want to do, you know, and if I have limitations, well, I work with it. You know, because obviously, like some people, you have limitations, like maybe like, you know, your knee hurts or this and that. You work with it. You do what you can, you know. Okay, I could do that, but I can do this, you know. So not let life pass you by, and just kind of live to the fullest, be happy, and, you know, I think a lot of times when we have challenges, which everybody does, and I'm not happy all the time, and I get mad and angry and upset, but you got to get out of it. You got to get out of it and look at the good things in life. You know, like, hey, I got a house over my head, or hey, I got my kids, I got my dog. I mean, look at that tree. This cup of coffee is amazing. You know, like the little things in life. You know, life is great, and, you know, you just got to kind of, this is what you have, and, you know, and then you just strive to make it better. You know, I want to write a book. So I have a book, you know, coming. I've been wanting to, ever since my daughter was born, 19 years ago. I was like, okay, when I'm pregnant, I might not be fighting so much, but I'll write my book. You know, I didn't write one word. I didn't write one word. I worked out. It like made me nauseous to be on the computer. So that's 19 years. So I still have to do it. I had 3 different attempts. So the book, the documentary, and I have a couple movies slated for next year, to continue doing seminars and traveling. My goal is to travel everywhere in the world, as many places as I can, until I can't travel anymore.
You are amazing. Thank you for interview.
Thank you. So happy to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Так, девочки, смотрите, вы сейчас непринужденное общение, не нужно набрать перебивок.
Просто общаемся.
Руки, да, просто разговаривай, руки, я журнал посниму.
Мы можем еще потом сфоткаться с журналом, прошу?
Да, смотри, потом я хочу с той позиции, твои все вопросы надо будет заново записать. Твои.
Ой-ой-ой. Ага.
Ну, чтобы они были слова в слова попадали. Ну, то есть,
Я так не смогу повторить.
ну,
прям
хоть
всё.
приблизительно.
Ага.
И для перебивок и с этой стороны
Ага.
твои эмоции просто,
Ничего себе.
если
Я думала,
слова, подожди, тихо.
Ага.
Если ты не можешь повторить, тогда
Не,
эмоции
смогу.
и там улыбка, махание головой, но только с этой позиции. Пока вы разговариваете, я с этой позиции сейчас крупным
Ага.
планом руки, там вот это вот все.
Ага.
Вы просто болтаете.
Скажи,
сейчас, и всё.
переведешь так вкратце, что нам делать. Ну все, мы так начали.
He just needed a few extra to like break the seriousness of interview.
Так, сейчас я
Some hands, some like